The road was unusually quiet that morning. A thin layer of fog hovered over the asphalt, blurring the outlines of trees and road signs. Deputy Ethan Cole slowed his patrol car as something caught his eye up ahead. Right in the middle of the road stood a large brown dog, unmoving, alert, and staring straight at him. Ethan tapped the brakes. "This is new," he muttered. Most animals ran the moment they heard a siren or engine, but this dog didn't flinch. Instead, it stepped closer, positioning itself directly in front of the car, forcing Ethan to stop completely. The dog's fur was dirty, one ear slightly torn, and its eyes, those eyes were filled with urgency, not fear. Ethan opened the door cautiously. "Hey, buddy, you're going to get hurt standing there." The dog let out a low whine and took a few steps back, then paused and looked over its shoulder, almost as if signaling Ethan to follow. Then it walked a few feet away, stopped again, and looked back. Ethan frowned. "You want me to follow you?" The dog barked once, sharp and clear, then turned toward the side of the road where tall grass met dense woodland. Ethan hesitated. Training told him not to wander off duty paths, but instinct told him this wasn't random behavior. He grabbed his flashlight and radio. "Dispatch, I'm checking something roadside. Might take a few minutes." The dog waited, as if making sure Ethan was really coming. Then it led him down a narrow dirt path away from the road. With every step, the air grew heavier. The forest was thick. Branches tangled overhead, blocking out the sun. The silence felt wrong, broken only by distant rustling. Suddenly, the dog stopped. From somewhere ahead came a faint sound. A cry. Not a bark, but a weak, trembling whimper. Ethan's grip tightened around the flashlight. "Easy, I hear it." They moved forward slowly until Ethan spotted something near a fallen tree. A small puppy, barely a few weeks old, was trapped between sharp rocks and twisted roots. One of its legs was pinned and its body was covered in scratches. The puppy tried to move but only cried louder. The adult dog rushed forward but stopped short, afraid to make things worse. It looked back at Ethan, desperation pouring out of every movement. "That's why you stopped me," Ethan whispered. But before he could step closer, a deep growl echoed from the shadows. Ethan froze. Something else was in the forest with them. Something watching. He slowly raised his flashlight, scanning the dark bushes, when suddenly branches snapped nearby, and whatever was out there was getting closer. Was Ethan about to save the puppy, or had he just walked into a deadly trap? Ethan's heart pounded as another branch snapped, louder this time. The forest no longer felt still. It felt alive, tense, as if every tree was holding its breath. The adult dog stepped in front of Ethan, body low, teeth slightly bared, ready to protect both the puppy and the stranger who had followed it. Ethan slowly reached for his service baton while keeping his flashlight aimed at the bushes. "Easy, easy," he whispered, though he wasn't sure who he was calming, himself or the dog. From the darkness emerged a pair of glowing eyes. Then another. A wild boar, massive and scarred, pushed through the undergrowth, snorting aggressively. Behind it, movement suggested at least one more animal lurking nearby. Ethan's stomach tightened. Boars were unpredictable, especially when injured or guarding territory. The adult dog barked loudly, trying to draw attention away from the trapped puppy. The sound echoed through the forest, but instead of scaring the boar, it triggered it. The boar charged. "Back!" Ethan shouted instinctively. He swung his baton hard against a tree trunk, making a loud crack. The boar veered slightly but didn't stop. In a split-second decision, Ethan grabbed a nearby rock and hurled it. It struck the ground near the boar's head, startling it just enough to pause. That pause saved them. Ethan rushed forward, ignoring the danger, and knelt near the puppy. The little one cried weakly as Ethan carefully lifted the root pinning its leg. The puppy whimpered but was free. Before Ethan could stand, the boar lunged again. The adult dog jumped in front of Ethan and took the hit. The force sent the dog rolling across the dirt, yelping in pain. Rage and fear surged through Ethan. He pulled out his flare gun, standard emergency equipment, and fired it into the air. The sudden burst of light and sound shattered the forest silence. The boar screeched, startled, and backed away. After a tense few seconds, it disappeared into the trees. Silence returned, but the damage was done. The adult dog lay on the ground, bleeding from its side. The puppy trembled in Ethan's arms, its legs swollen and scraped. Ethan quickly tore strips from his uniform sleeve to slow the bleeding. "You're gonna be okay," he said, voice shaking. "I promise." He radioed for emergency backup, but knew help would take time. Carefully, he lifted the injured dog, the puppy tucked securely against his chest, and made his way back toward the road. Every step felt heavier than the last. By the time he reached his patrol car, both dogs were barely conscious. Ethan didn't wait for permission. He turned on the sirens and sped toward the nearest animal emergency hospital. But as he glanced in the rearview mirror, he noticed something unsettling. The adult dog, despite the pain, was watching him, almost as if it was trying to trust him completely. And Ethan wondered, what would happen after the rescue? Would this bond end at the hospital doors, or was this just the beginning of something far bigger? The siren echoed through the empty streets as Ethan sped toward the emergency animal clinic. He kept one hand on the wheel and the other gently pressed against the injured dog's side, trying to slow the bleeding. The puppy whimpered softly from the passenger seat, wrapped in Ethan's jacket. "Stay with me," Ethan said, his voice tight. "Both of you." The adult dog's breathing was shallow, but its eyes remained open, locked on Ethan, as if holding on to consciousness through sheer will. When they finally screeched to a stop outside the clinic, Ethan burst through the doors without waiting. "I need help, now!" he shouted. The veterinary staff rushed forward with stretchers. The moment they took the dogs from his arms, the adult dog growled weakly, struggling to lift its head. It didn't want to let go. Ethan placed his hand gently on its neck. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not leaving." That seemed to calm the dog just enough. Hours passed in the waiting room. Ethan sat stiffly in his uniform, dried blood staining his sleeves. His radio buzzed nonstop with missed calls from dispatch, but for once, duty didn't feel like a badge or a job. It felt like responsibility. Finally, the veterinarian approached. "They're alive," she said. "The puppy has a fractured leg, but it'll heal. The adult dog, it was close. Deep wound, infection risk, but we stabilized her." Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "She?" he asked. The vet nodded. "Strong mother, very strong." Ethan was allowed into recovery briefly. The mother dog lay still, bandaged, IV running. When Ethan stepped closer, her tail moved slightly. Her eyes opened, and when she saw him, they softened. "You did good," Ethan whispered. The puppy, its leg wrapped in a tiny cast, was placed beside its mother. It pressed closer instinctively, and the mother dog nudged it gently with her nose despite the pain. That moment changed something inside Ethan. Later that night, the vet pulled Ethan aside. "Animal control can take them tomorrow," she said carefully. "Or, if you're willing, you could foster, at least until they recover." Ethan didn't answer immediately. He thought about the road, the forest, the way that dog had trusted him without words. "I'll take them," he said finally. "Both of them." When Ethan drove home at dawn, the patrol car felt different. The back seat held two lives that now depended on him. The mother dog kept one eye open the entire ride, watching the road, watching Ethan. But as they pulled into his driveway, something unexpected happened. The mother dog suddenly tensed and let out a low warning growl. Ethan followed her gaze toward the shadows near his house. Someone, or something, was already there, and whatever it wasn't there by accident. Ethan froze as the mother dog's low growl deepened. He shut off the engine but didn't open the door. The porch light flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the yard. For a moment, nothing moved. Then a figure stepped forward. "Relax," a voice said. "I'm not here to cause trouble." It was Mrs. Harper, Ethan's elderly neighbor, holding a flashlight and a bag of groceries. Ethan exhaled sharply and stepped out of the car. "Sorry, long night." Mrs. Harper glanced into the back seat and gasped softly. "Oh my, what happened to them?" "Roadside rescue," Ethan replied simply. Inside the house, Ethan laid out blankets near the fireplace. The mother dog, now calmer, carefully stepped inside, sniffing every corner before allowing the puppy to be placed down. She positioned herself between the puppy and the door, still cautious but no longer hostile. Ethan brought out food and water. The mother dog hesitated, then ate slowly. When she was done, she surprised Ethan by sitting down and meeting his eyes. For the first time, her tail wagged. Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess that means I passed the test." Over the next few days, recovery became routine. Ethan learned the puppy's playful habits despite the cast and noticed how the mother dog always waited until Ethan ate before she touched her food, almost like a silent thank you. One evening, while cleaning the puppy's bandage, Ethan noticed an old scar on the mother dog's collar line, evidence she had once belonged to someone. She wasn't a stray by choice, she had survived. That night, a knock echoed at the door. Ethan opened it to find an animal control officer. "We received a report about an injured dog matching this description," the officer said. The mother dog immediately stood, placing herself protectively in front of the puppy. Ethan felt his chest tighten. "They're under my care now," he said firmly. "I'm fostering them." The officer studied the scene, the warm fire, the clean bandages, the quiet trust. After a long pause, he nodded. "I'll update the record." As the door closed, Ethan realized something had shifted. This wasn't temporary anymore. Later that night, the mother dog walked over and rested her head against Ethan's leg. The puppy curled up beside her. Ethan didn't move, because in that moment he understood. Some rescues don't end at the hospital. They begin at home. But as peace finally settled in, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from the clinic. They had found something unusual in the mother dog's past records, something that could change everything. Ethan stared at the message from the clinic, his thumb hovering over the screen. "Call us when you can. We found prior records linked to the dog." His stomach tightened. He glanced down at the mother dog, who lay calmly beside the fireplace, her breathing steady now. The puppy slept curled against her chest, rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. Whatever the records were, Ethan already knew one thing: this dog was family now. The next morning, Ethan drove them back to the clinic. The mother dog remained alert but calm, trusting him enough to step inside without resistance. The veterinarian greeted Ethan with a serious expression. "She was registered once," she explained, "years ago, trained as a search and rescue dog. Her handler went missing during a wildfire response. After that, she disappeared." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "That explains her intelligence," the vet continued. "She knows how to seek help. She didn't stop your car by accident." Ethan knelt beside the dog. "You saved your pup the only way you knew how." The dog licked his hand gently, as if confirming the truth.
The clinic offered to reconnect her with a rescue organization, but Ethan shook his head. "She's done her duty," he said quietly. "Let her rest." Paperwork followed, official adoption this time. When Ethan signed his name, the mother dog let out a soft sound, almost a sigh. Back home, life slowly found a rhythm. The puppy learned to walk without the cast. The mother dog guarded the yard, not out of fear, but pride. Neighbors stopped by, kids waved, and for the first time in years, Ethan's house didn't feel empty after long shifts. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Ethan sat on the porch steps. The puppy chased falling leaves, while the mother dog sat beside him, calm and steady. "You stopped my car," Ethan said softly, "but you also stopped me from staying alone." The dog leaned against him. Some bonds are formed through words. Others are formed through trust, courage, and a moment on a quiet road. Ethan looked at the two of them and smiled. Because that night, when he turned off the lights and closed the door, he didn't feel like a police officer who had rescued a dog. He felt like someone who had been rescued himself. And sometimes, the ones we save end up saving us right back.